bottom. This is what I really want to discuss going forward. You can see we still have a lot of volatility. So if we recover, and that's been the pattern recently, is every time, unless there's any news coming out of the Middle East, every time we wake up, US session opens, market goes down. So that means US investors are by and large bearish and selling. The rest of the market is bullish. The market structure is bullish. These latecomers, they're saying, hey, I'm going to take profits at 71. Yeah, it's around time to take profits, my friend. Around time to take profits. A lot of people, even on my private channels, were saying, hey, should I sell now? It looks like a bear trap. No, it does not look like a bear trap. I just want to get that out of the way. No, if you're following the service and my analysis, this is not a bear trap. This is in fact right on time for a rally. Now let's discuss the rally though, because this is the bigger thing for me. Again, I don't want to spend too much time on macro. You know the macro is bullish. I just showed you. I can show you again. The macro is bullish. These three lines point higher. All of them. All three are independent models. They all say Bitcoin should rally. I also have the geocosmic models, which I'm going to be discussing a lot more at the upcoming WISE Summit. I think it's May 3 to 5th. I recommend you attend because the stuff that I'm going to discuss there, how I use planets to forecast Bitcoin, I will only show there. I mean, maybe over time I'll show it to everybody, but for now, I'm only going to show it there because I'm actually still building those models. But suffice to say, I created 4 new models to predict that use different planetary combinations. Very uncorrelated stuff. They also say February is a low. They also point to a high in April. And when I said the written issue, which again, I recommend you read first, that it looks like July is going to be the big 320-day cycle top, that comes from those new models. It doesn't really matter whether the top is in April or in July, though. It's not now. It's not in early March. So what I'm trying to say is all the models point to Bitcoin rallying. And I believe this week those models have been validated. We have price action confirmation. But let's discuss the actual rally because it is weak. I have to say, volatility, downside volatility, still very prevalent. And ever since we made this last 20-day cycle bottom here, which apparently don't know what it is, but it is here on February 23rd, last week, Bitcoin made a 20-day cycle bottom. Since that 20-day cycle bottom, we have seen this pattern, and you can see that we're still following this pattern by and large. We have one strong up day, and then the rest is followed by sideways, nothing price action. In fact, that's been the way Bitcoin trades since the February 5th low. So we have strong day followed by weakness, 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 strong day, weakness, weakness, weakness. This is usually how Bitcoin likes to climb out of these bottoms. In fact, most of the upside, when you see a price rally, most of the upside is just concentrated in 2 or 3 days. The rest of the time, Bitcoin is not doing much. However, the macro and the liquidity models point to strength, undeniable strength. And so as long as Bitcoin is going up one day, falling the following 4 days, going up one day, then sideways, then you can see here we have a breakout. Now today we're going to retest the top of the end of that range. The question on my mind now is how high does Bitcoin go? Well, if it follows this pattern, not very high. That's the only thing that concerns me here. I don't see it rallying too much. And the reason for that is there's still a lot of selling out there. Every time Bitcoin rallies, and guys, it started to rally on the worst geopolitical news you could possibly hope for. In fact, a lot of people blamed Bitcoin's weakness prior to Saturday on the military buildup in the Middle East, and yet when conflict actually broke out, Bitcoin rallied on that day. And it rallied, and it's been rallying on what the market, this is not me, is what the market sees as positive developments. So when the news broke that the supreme leader of Iran had been killed, Bitcoin rallied. When I don't know what happened exactly on Monday. I believe what happened on Monday is that there were news coming out of the Middle East that people in the conflict areas were buying Bitcoin, not gold, to protect their assets, which makes a lot of sense. If you're in Iran and you buy a ton of gold, literally a ton of gold, good luck getting out of the border with that money. You cannot. But if you buy Bitcoin, you can cross the border, and all you need is your private keys. And so, of course, Bitcoin shines in or thrives. Bitcoin demand surges during geopolitical hot zones of conflict, famine, whatever, natural disaster. If people want to flee their country and go somewhere else, Bitcoin is the go-to safe haven. It's not gold. You cannot move gold. That's the problem with gold. Nations use gold. They can move it around. But people use Bitcoin. This is people's gold. Think about it that way. So it makes sense we had this rally on Monday. Then yesterday, this huge breakout that took place here, it was on the back of news that Donald Trump was using the US Navy to secure the Strait of Hormuz. Why am I saying all these things? Because every one of these rallies, every single one of these rallies we have seen since Saturday is geopolitically related. In other words, we're still trading on that news. We're trading on that. Now, if you ask me what leads Bitcoin, is it really liquidity or the news? Obviously, it's liquidity. The news is not good. The news is horrible, and Bitcoin's rallying. In fact, Bitcoin has muted reactions to negative outcomes out of the Middle East and extremely positive reactions to things that are not really that positive. I mean, is it what's best? Having the Strait of Hormuz open or having the US Navy patrol it? I mean, you see what I'm trying to say? So Bitcoin is having asymmetrical reactions to good news, whereas it has muted reactions to bad news. However, it still trades on that. So the shadow of that conflict lingers on this market.